Welcome back, everyone, to more Katowice casts. This tournament had so many good games that I actually kind of have to pick and choose some of the individual games to show you. So I already uploaded what was game 2 of Nice versus Spirit here. I'm going to show you, of course, the overall score. It's 2-2. It's actually game 5 on Berlingrad between the two. In this game, I know it turned really awesome and epic, but I actually wasn't able to cast it. I was interviewing at the time, so I'm excited to get into it, because I gotta tell you, that game 2 that I cast, I didn't expect it to just constantly be action. I knew it was good, but it was constant. I wanted to actually kind of bring up who had won the first game, and I couldn't even do that because there was so much happening. But I think in this case, once again, to set the story, we have this as game 5 after already a long, grueling day for both players. They already have played against some of the best StarCraft 2 players, hoping to make it into the group stage of Katowice. And now they've been playing another probably hour and a half to 2 hours, actually, in this best of alone. So they're tired. They're tired, and they're probably tired of each other, to be honest. They are trying to kind of anticipate each other. A little bit more of a mental game you would expect to be played at this point. Game 5, watched a lot of build orders, watched a lot of preferences and how someone plays, but then coupled with kind of the mental exhaustion from a series like this and from a long day of StarCraft and the just high intensity pressure these players feel, again, you can try to expect perfect gameplay from the players. As a player yourself, you can expect perfect gameplay from yourself, but we know that very rarely happens. So let's introduce the players. Top left of Berlingrad is Spirit, bottom right is Nice. Spirit being formerly Soul, and Nice, did not get much time to talk about him, is a actually a very good well, not up and coming player necessarily, just the fact that like he's actually been around for a very long time and has done fairly well in his region. But it feels like lately both the Taiwanese and Chinese regions are really starting to, I don't know, put top 8 contenders into these tournaments. I think that's the best way that I'll put it. So Nice, representing Taiwan, is definitely one of those players that I said keep an eye out for in my Katowice video, and he has proved it at Katowice for sure. You got to look out for him. But speaking of which, looking out for him, Spirit actually is trying to purposefully body block the well-known Adept attack on this map. Was pulling the SCVs actually worth it? You know, I guess there's always a question mark there, but did kind of stop it in its tracks. And I think something that we always have to consider for the players is that it's not necessarily just about an equal trade, or a slightly better trade, of course, that's what you want. It's also about just kind of minimizing a headache, making sure those Adepts, they don't do any more crazy shenanigans. Oh, the Reaper does not end up getting trapped. 2 probes go down, but oh no, Spirit was migrating to the other side of the map. Lets the Adepts in. Oh, well, this is already turning as awkward as last game. Both of them making mistakes. Well, Spirit making a mistake that he would not usually do, I suspect. Nice was purposefully, I guess, gambling a tad here by actually sending the Adepts forward like he did. So you got to acknowledge that the Reaper could actually do some severe damage. But Spirit definitely, again, making a mistake. Oh, well, okay. Respect Nice. He got the Adept Shade in. It was questionable if that was actually going to be a good Adept Shade, but at least used the Widowmine Splash to kill Spirit's Hellion. Now, another Adept comes in, and that's probably just not worth it, right? Yeah, definitely not. They both trade out on the worker kills, but the 4 Adepts, far more costly than 4 Marines. And, well, a Hellion too, but they didn't pop up, I guess, because it's splash damage. It was friendly fire damage. Oh, the repair attempt doesn't actually work. The Mule goes down as well. The Widowmine was supposed to protect it. 4 Marines are enough, although one was weak. So I think that's why Nice actually turned around but didn't focus the weak one. 4 Marines is usually good enough. Definitely not there. What I was good. Okay, well, good. I was just about to bring up my previous point before I got distracted. And now I can bring it up again. So the Reaper just died to the Oracles. And that's actually pretty important because initially the Adept shading in to basically trade its life for a Helene, I don't think was actually worth it. I mean, literally for the cost, it was not worth it. But for the lack of scouting, that might have been worth it. Except the Reaper was still alive. So I was going to bring it up, but then the Reaper died. And basically at the end of the day, what I'm going to say is that Spirit doesn't have a lot of follow-up scouting. Now, of course, he already scouted the Stargate, and he's just been attacked by Stargate. So that's not the scouting that he needed to do. But he is not going to have any kind of post-secondary tech, I guess is how we'll talk about it, right? So Stargate Robo or Twilight Council, what comes down, that's the secondary tech that I'm talking about. Well, he scouted the Stargate. Yeah, no problem. Ooh, supply block here from Nice. What he doesn't get to scout is if maybe the gases come down really quickly, or maybe the third base has already come down, which would all be good information to determine if it's maybe Phoenix Charge or Phoenix Colossus, usually is the specifics, because, of course, Spirit at this point has seen that it is, again, Phoenix. And, again, Game 5, Spirit has been playing a lot of Nice's Phoenix opener. I think, actually, at least 3 of the 5 games, if not 4 of the 5 games. I think 4 of the 5 games are Phoenix. I think 1 might not have been. But anyways, this is Phoenix. So with Phoenix, the question then is Phoenix Charge or Phoenix Colossus. And gas timings and third base timings would be really good indicators if you just can't straight up scan the army. And I will point out again that Nice has been playing a lot with Phoenix Charge, so Spirit's probably anticipating this to a certain level, but you never just want to guess. So even a Helene getting in and seeing Double Forge would be a fantastic indicator for the mass gateway style. Very kind of old style at this point, too. I know Zest was a huge fan of this a while ago. Well, not the Phoenix, actually. Blink right into Charge and Double Forge. So not even necessarily this, but basically Double Forge. Double Forge kind of, it came and it went. Got reduced down to a single Forge in almost every Protoss composition and build order. So to see it kind of come back, I mean, we are still seeing the, I would say the remnants of individual regions having their own little flair, right? I think it's mostly homogenized. Is that the fancy word that I'm using incorrectly? Across StarCraft. It's definitely not what it used to be back in like 2013, where the Taiwanese and Chinese regions were like, what the hell is going on? But you can see that there is definitely stylistic preferences for the players here. Nice loses the Phoenix, actually quite devastating for a Phoenix player, and Roddy would probably tell you all about that. But the Phoenix, they are kind of expensive. They build rather quickly, and you know, they're not the hardest units to keep alive, I suppose, but they are kind of expensive, and you are supposed to get to a certain number of them and then kind of say, well, I'm comfy here. Let's, you know, make sure to keep them alive and just not build anymore. So sometimes that's 5, depending on what composition you're going for. Maybe it is upwards more to like 9 or 10. Nice has been going towards the latter more often. This game, he does kind of stall out at 2, but no, what else is he doing, right? Well, he's getting a bunch of Nexus. So he goes Double Forge, very limited gas, 4th base super quickly, and 5th base super quickly. So, again, not a style that we don't see from, like, the Korean players in the past, I suppose, on occasion, but definitely a style that we'd see from the Taiwanese region, actually, and his perhaps friend Haas having a little bit of influence as well. Haas was known primarily as a super cheeser in the more common sense, which is like all-in cheese. And then, I guess maybe trying to, you know, make sure his identity was fresh, started doing macro cheese. So basically trying to get away with Supreme Greed, while kind of, you know, doing that, having to have a front. And the front, to an extent, is actually Charge Lot Phoenix or Charge Lot Archon. Now, is it a not scary composition? Is it fake? No, it is actually a scary composition. You have to be very careful playing against a player like this, because Zealots are powerful. Upgraded Zealots are powerful. Upgraded Zealots that you don't actually consider where they are, and they get a surround on you. Boom, you're dead, right? But similar to the previous game that I cast the 2, Ghosts nullify this really well, especially in the hands of a pro. I know there's people out there on ladder who are like, no, ghosts never help. And it's like, well, they're definitely gonna help Spirit. Make no mistake. I actually even like this little medevac drop action we see here. I think Spirit picked up pretty early on the fact that this was not Mass Phoenix. He saw 2 to 3 and then really not a whole lot more and was like, okay, hold on. But again, even if it was maybe 6 to 9 Phoenix like previous games, if they're on the offensive, then you have a little bit of that room to gamble safely, if you will, on those drops. So the first drop was okay, second drop not so much. Spirit, though, using them just to kind of keep tabs, I believe, on Nice. Just say, okay, what are you doing? What is your composition? What is your gas count? What is your base count? Okay, that's a lot. And then just turtling back at home. I think it's fair to call this turtling. Something that we'd usually actually say Spirit is very accustomed to, but this entire best of, he kind of has to play a bit out of his comfort zone against Nice, because Nice is basically throwing him off style-wise. You know, it's Nice is doing a lot of jabbing when usually it's a sucker punch, and then vice versa as well. He's zigging instead of zagging compared to other Protoss players. So I know Spirit's probably a little more confused, and more commonly is going to be the one to say, like, let's calm things down, let's turtle. So that's what's happening here. And Nice is the one who really probably likes feeling like he's in control. He's the one that has the very mobile army that's going to find the Terran out of position and hopefully very underprepared. I wouldn't say this is an underprepared Spirit, though. Yes, he was not protecting the 4th base, so that has to be lifted, but the army is here, the EMPs are here, the tanks are there, and the bunkers as well. Once again, not eagerly trying to salvage them as soon as he thinks he's okay to go, means that he kind of dominates this defense. 13 SCVs do go down, but he's got 4 bases. This one should live, of course, no anti-air, and you know, the SCVs can be replaced. If they even get replaced, he might actually go back up to like 65 or 68, but then transfer some of the workers, drop mules, you know, have a much bigger army for it. Speaking of which, we are talking about a much bigger army for Spirit, although the upgrades are a little bit worse. 2-2 for the Terran, only about less than halfway done, but currently gonna dominate this particular fight. Not enough Zealots came in here. The tanks get sieged, blow away the Stalkers that desperately tried to escape, and Nice needs those 12 gateways to get cranking here. He needs actually more reinforcements. Spirit's gonna tuck himself into a corner. He realizes he has an opportunity, and this is an effective way to deal with Zealots. A less effective way, however, to deal with Colossus. Big Daddy Colossus trying to come in and save the day. One of them goes down. The other one looks like it is going to be able to survive at the very least, and 4 medevacs pick up and get the hell out of there. One barely not dying to the few remaining Stalkers that are available. He is going to unload here. A bit of a dangerous move, I would say, not too far away from where the army was chasing him. And there you go. The 2 weak medevacs do actually get taken down. Quick recall on some of these anti-air units. The Stalkers kind of specifically targeted there for the recall to once again ensure these medevacs, these pesky medevacs that probably cost Spirit, or rather Nice, a couple of these games, actually go down. If you could go ahead and just get rid of them, that is a huge relief for the Protoss player. But once again, Spirit, he's showing a lot of spirit. It's undying spirit, basically. Another medevac drop shortly behind the one that Nice literally just cleaned up. These 2 medevacs trying to do what they can. 17 probes in total going down. 1 base just entirely not mining. Ghost usually not common with the drops, but this was the remnants of the big push that Spirit thought he might actually win the game with. It turns out that's not really the case, however, and at this point, while this is a lot of harassment, this is a lot of distraction, this is a lot of annoyance, no doubt about it, this actually isn't rewarding Spirit as much as he probably hoped. The number of units has really grown in the last 60 seconds, so Spirit was killing a lot of probes, maybe a lot of kind of easily rebuildable units like Zealots and Stalkers at this point. Nice still has a lot of bases. He still has a lot of gateways. So as Spirit, you know, trades, what he is trading here is not good. Even though, again, it looked really cool. It felt like it might once again look like that game 2, where this actually was kind of victories on every drop economy-wise, and Spirit was able to build up back at home. Not so much. He is losing a lot, actually, at this point. Nice just needed that time, is the thing. Nice just needed the 60 seconds to warp in twice. And with 12 gateways, we're talking about 24 more zealots after 2 warp-ins. That is not only going to make your entire army bigger if it's coming in with one big clump, it also means you have a lot more units to actually spread out to deal with these drops more effectively. And let's be real, it's easier for the Protoss player to send like 12 zealots one place, 12 zealots another, than it is for the drop player, the harassment player, to micro against both sets and actually do a lot of damage. So at this point, Spirit, I think he started realizing the drops are getting a little out of control. His supply was still suffering, tries to calm down on that, start building up back at home, and he's probably right on time. Those Ghost EMP was beautiful on top of the Zealots. The bunker does fall, but other ones are available. The tank's still sieged up, and the Zealots were actually quite alone in their endeavor to break Spirit there. The EMP, as I said, is beautiful on top of them. So many of them lost their shields. But even so, they were kind of going in through a bit of a maze. They were going in single file. The Colossus weren't helping to beam down. No force fields were there to help get those Zealots on top of the Terran army. Even the tanks couldn't be gotten on top of. And they're not mobile, but they just were tucked into such nice locations. This one in particular apparently got a Zealot on top of it, but didn't actually die. So, nice. Maybe getting a little overeager. Has a very good army for the purpose of dealing with drops, perhaps, and for dealing with armies of the Terran that are out on the map. But he has a very poor army for actually ending the game. The EMPs, any Widow Mines, actually breaking chokes is going to be extremely difficult for Nice. Now, these Zealots are finding a little more success, but once again, the Colossus kind of getting caught up, killing command centers, killing a tank, and taking too long to do so means that the amount of army left here for Spirit is going to be good enough. The Zealots also have, at this point, just disappeared, and nothing to protect the Colossus now means the Marauders suddenly get to jump on top of them. The micro has to happen, and only one Colossus dies, but that once again was not actually the game-ending fight that Nice might have thought that was. Meanwhile, he was losing probes on the other side of the map, so even though Nice did dig into Spirit's economy, Spirit was actually doing even more to Nice. 26 probes go down in total. Nice still on 64 probes, ain't so bad, and he has 6 Nexus. 6 Nexus, so this is a temporary lapse in his economy, but it's still lasting actually a long time, so it's not even temporary at this point. It is just a considerable amount of damage that has to be recovered. 30 probes in total go down, and while yes, you can build 6 probes at a time, that is quite a bit of cash. So uranium minerals that could be going into building a grander army to actually successfully kill Spirit is going back and trying to rebuild the economy. And once again, economy under attack on the left side, going after those probes. The Nexus might be kind of those big, literally big explosions. Looks like the big money maker. Boom, Nexus killed. I would say generally is. It's also perhaps the bigger gamble. 2 medevacs, decent at killing a Nexus pretty quickly, not as quickly as they would kill probes. And so as long as you get a decent amount of probes killed, I'd say that it is actually the smarter thing to go for. But we might eventually see some Nexus finally fall, and that would obviously hurt Nice quite a bit. Once again, Nice tries to go for the attack, does find the orbital this time. Spirit had to tuck himself into the high ground, so wasn't able to protect that orbital. But Spirit has a planetary to the left side, so while he's down a mule, the actual economy of him is not too shabby at all. Finally, we also have Spirit's upgrades finishing up, so Nice has been on 3-3-1 actually for quite some time. Now Spirit at the very least on 3-3. Of course, no additional upgrades available for Terran infantry, but we could have, I don't know, in the future, we could have ship weapons. I don't know about right now. I am also picking up on the same mistake that Spirit actually made in Game 2. I just never got to bring it up because, again, all these games just so action-packed. Another 10 probes go down to a Widow Mine, and they're just running across the map. But Marauder's slow. It was actually been very late for Spirit or non-existent in multiple games here. And while some of you might be like, there was a billion Zealots, ZombieGrub, does Marauder slow actually help? Yeah, there's a billion Zealots, let's say 30 Zealots, and there's only 10 Marauders. I'd still say that's helpful. You know, if you slow down the frontline Zealots, which makes the most sense, that's the first thing your bio is going to be shooting, then those slow Zealots, they do also cause kind of a roadblock. They cause a traffic jam for the other Zealots as well. So, and it's a very cheap upgrade, it's a very fast upgrade, 100% every Terran's going to get it. This is not something that Spirit is intentionally doing, but unfortunately it is making his his life a bit harder. Fortunately, though, the EMPs make his life a lot easier. The amount of Marines actually in this army as well really do help against the Zealots. While the Zealots weren't necessarily in a choke right there, they definitely didn't get us around. They all got bunched up against the wall of Marine Marauder Ghost, and they got EMP'd. They got destroyed. The EMPs then landed on those Archons, so they did not end up actually contributing the splash that they can once they reached the Terran army. They just couldn't reach them. They were dead. They got popped like balloons, except this guy who actually lives to tell the tale. Bob the Archon has quite a story to tell. But anyways, yeah, that's that Marauder slow still missing. We'll let it go for now. Medivacs are on the way, more ghosts are on the way, and Spirit has actually gotten his main command center over to his third to once again pick up on the mining. Not the mules, right? Only on 2 mules, but still. Now for Nice. Does he take just a second, maybe, before they engage again? Has rebuilt at least one of his Nexus. Well, not the other one, unfortunately. So he lost 2 at a time, I believe. But this one is up and running. At least the probes were returned here at the very least. And this one, in the very, very top right, is finally coming down too. So Nice is still trying to keep a steady 6-base economy. He's not there yet. Vikings are going to take out this lone Colossus. No problem, pretty much. Didn't really contribute to the fight. EMPs on top of the Zealots as well. And the micro displayed here from Spirit is going to help tremendously. Let him actually take a decent fight. Now, he lost all those Vikings, which I do believe that Nice is doing a great job of picking up on, so he goes instantly back to rebuilding those Colossus. Even if the Vikings didn't go down, there's always a bit of a conundrum for Protoss players. You know, the Colossus do represent a very sturdy army unit, basically. They're not gambly like a Disruptor can be. And even if they get shot down, kind of the hope for a Protoss player is that the Colossus will get 3 or 4 shots before it dies. And you have 3 Colossus is usually the golden number. That's 3 or 4 shots from 3 Colossus. That's actually a ton of damage. That's all the Marines dead. That's the Marauders severely injured. You get the picture. The problem is usually actually getting those Colossus to get the shots. The Bio Army is kiting away, right? Stutter stepping away. And the Vikings are trying to kill the Colossus before they even get a chance to fight. So, you know, we do see a lot of Protoss players actually just kind of go, okay, my Colossus are dead. That's it. I'm never rebuilding them. But if the Vikings die, you know, it's kind of obvious, I suppose, why he would want to go back into Colossus. Now, the Viking count isn't being completely forgotten about for Spirits. He does grab another Nexus in this game. He's going to EMP a lot of the frontline army units as they come in through a choke, but the Stalkers here going to be able to help out those Colossus. This time they all survive. Third one's coming up, and while the Zealot numbers are disappearing, this time there's a little more behind those Zealots. It's not just the Zealots, and if they're gone, oh my god, this army is paper. It dies instantly. Although it's also not still the strongest army, I would say. Yeah, it's not the case where it was when Nice was attacking in here, right? All those Zealots disappeared and the Colossus were suddenly under attack. Not as much. The Stalkers aren't really supposed to be on the front lines tanking, but if they have to, they'll do the job. They'll buy the time for the Colossus to get those shots, basically. So still not as sturdy of an army as some of you might be believing right here. If it is concaved on, those Disruptors are going to have to hope that their shots actually land, but even they are going to struggle against a concave, so moving in here is extremely dangerous for Nice. And of course, he's also been losing the economy, so this isn't something that he can just casually blunder into and then say, no problem, I'm going to replace it. He actually has to be very careful. Good scout on that right side, going to take care of what he can with just the Stalkers, but then leaving maybe the left side a little open. No, the Disruptor is going to safeguard that. This orbital, you would think, would go down, and I do think it will eventually. Is somehow mining kind of while the action is on the front lines. Ghost, unfortunately, going to be left by the looks of it. No, not quite. Actually, this one Ghost going to live to tell the tale. Disruptor's taken out shortly before they actually get to fire. And we're only talking about 2 Disruptors at this point. Very easy for the Terran player to count, but Liberator's focusing the wrong way. Medivac's out of juice. Bio Army heavily over Sim. This is exactly where Colossus would do really well, but they need something to protect them. Spirit knows it too. If Spirit's army was entirely healed up, all green, and there was Medivacs aplenty with energy, he might have chased there. He might have chased. But knowing that would actually be a fool's errand, he pulls back, he resets the Liberators, he takes the safe approach to this game. And this is probably on the forefront of his mind. Don't let this game go. Don't do any silly mistakes to actually lose this game and be out of the chance of getting to Katowice. Liberator harassment also now a super big deal because Liberator range did finish. Oh, at some point he got Marauder slow. There you go. And this is something that Nice is going to really struggle to deal with, because even if he builds Phoenix, they don't kill Liberators that quickly. they're going to have to be, you know, kind of advanced place to actually stop Liberators in general, where it's very easy to find Phoenix in the wrong place at the wrong time. So a huge annoyance for Nice. This is a bold blink forward. He actually didn't have all that much information on how much army was behind that, but it ends up being a pretty good blink forward because Spirit had actually picked up 4 medevacs worth of units heading for a big old drop into the main base, coupled with Liberators is absolutely devastating for a Protoss player, and Nice recall is going to try and take care of this. Some Stalkers blink to the north, but really not enough. These Stalkers actually are all bundled in here. They're just not very effective whatsoever. Finally, they get to blink forward, but underneath those Liberators, a lot of them are going down, and actually Spirit, I think, even dropped, hoping the Liberators would have actually been enough. They were not. He loses a couple of these last units and starts to miscontrol the medevacs as well. He's on doing other things, so only 1 medevac gets to survive, but the other thing that he was doing was trying to focus on a drop over here, killing 7 probes, putting Nice down to 47 workers. Now let's actually take a gander at the economies, okay? So the Nexus count is no longer what's most important because we're talking about a lot of mined out bases. So first, third, and second, got ahead of myself. Oh, obviously all mined out. Even this, I think this was his 5th, actually, is starting to get mined out. And Nice finally does clean up that 1 drop. So we're talking about 1.5 base of mining for Nice. So 47 isn't even quite actually doing its proper job. It's oversaturated. So Spirit is having a much better time because he has the bottom left base. He has the middle left base, although that also is starting to mine out. So actually, it is 1.5 bases for both players because Spirit just lost the orbital to the top side. Nice was like, you can't get that. That's not fair. You can't just have an orbital out on the map, and takes care of that. But now, what are the armies actually like? 3-3-1 again on Nice's side. He's had that for quite some time. I don't think it would have actually been worth it for him to invest in Archon, rather shields for his Archon, so they're good upgrades. Spirit on 3-3 never got the ship upgrades, so his Liberators are a little less effective, but they're still obviously doing their job as far as drawing the line in the sand. Nice wants to circumvent those, but even if he does avoid the Liberators, it doesn't guarantee that his army's going to win. It actually doesn't. His army is fairly well balanced, except for the lacking Disruptors. You know, again, some Zealots to help buffer, some Stalkers to help maybe buffer in the time of great need. All for the 3 Colossus to hopefully get shots, or even the Archons, right? Oh, 1 Disruptor's here. Okay, 1 Disruptor is here. But really, you'd want to have more Disruptors to try and help out. And of course, you'd want a bigger bank as the Protoss too, to take, I guess, bold engagements and actually live afterwards. This one in particular is very bold, going into that gigantic concave of the Terran army, rather, while the Liberators are sieged up as well. Nice, not getting a good time out of that specific party. Looks like a lot of workers have gone down while it was happening. However, Spirit's now down to 25 workers himself. Nice down to 29. Barely going to save this Nexus by the looks of things, but Spirit might be on the hunt. He's... Oh, no! Oh, Nice! Oh, misrallying his Robo. Either because he was building an Observer or because he thought he would actually keep his frontline pressure, but that is a huge mistake. A ton of money down the drain. At the very least, that Disruptor survived. I don't know. Pretty sure it survived. Where did it go? 1 Disruptor is somewhere out in the middle of the road. I'm not sure that's intentional. It could try and come in for a backstab, though, and that would be absolutely brilliant, but is it too little too late? Here it comes. Spirit is chasing after the Stalker and Colossus army. He does see the Disruptor, dodges out of that, and with the last Colossus falling and no Disruptor shot, this army of the Protoss is not that intimidating, but hold on a second. The Medivacs are out of juice. The Marauders and Ghosts are tanky, but now they're very, very bruised, and the amount of Stalkers that are available with their upgrades are actually chasing down the Bio player. You don't see that too often, but good on Spirit. Rather nice to recognize that that is actually an opportunity. Unfortunately, Nice does lose the Nexus. Not enough to tear down 2 Marauders without the medevac. The probes might have been pulled in the situation if Nice could have paid attention, but of course, he's been trying to win some of these fights. He's trying to now punish another orbital to the top right, of which he does get the punish at the very least. But I'd say actually keeping that Nexus alive was more important, and I think it was a matter of attention. You know, the 1 Stalker wasn't going to cut it, but again, the probes, if they had been pulled away, the ones that were long distance mining might have done the trick. I mean, it would have been like a 20 health Nexus, so it's not exactly ideal, but ooh, even a couple extra seconds mining could be the big difference maker in this game. Spirit has a planetary now on the way, so he was taking a lot of SEV kills because he didn't have the proper protection, as this game has just spread all over the map, right? So now that he has a planetary, that is going to be really difficult for Nice to crack, especially because he never got into any Dark Templar. A Dark Shrine notably missing from, I believe, the entire series, especially missing from this game. You know, you gotta wonder if that had been included at minute 12. Would there have been more opportunities later on? Nice is now trying to make use of Stalkers the way that it was just seconds ago, but this time the army is healed. The Medivacs have energy. And now you have kind of three problems. The bio, the tank, and the Liberators. Stalkers can't do everything. They're pretty damn good units. I really enjoy the Stalker, to be honest, as a design. But they're not that good. But the Storm's gonna help with that. The Storms actually are going to make it so the Stalkers can one-shot some of these units, which is exactly what Nice is trying to do, but I think it's a little bit too late. There might be a billion Storms as he is just not morphing Archons. So there you go, 1 Archon, 2 Archons morphed in. But even the Stalkers getting kind of splashed as well didn't help their cause. And of course, the Archons aren't exactly ideal. Oh, because the Ghosts have EMP. Not unless they're feedbacked. 1 Stalker almost dying. But I think this might actually already be too far gone. This was one hell of a game, but Nice, having lost the Nexus, he can't rebuild it. The Storm, another thing that maybe had it come in at more like minute 20, let's just throw that out there, maybe could have made a big difference, just because maybe you get that one kind of emergency storm, the one where the Terran player thinks, I'm winning, and then runs right into it. But obviously, you don't usually get Storm against this type of composition from the Terran, because EMPs are hella good. So the likelihood of a Storm actually hitting is quite low. Could Nice have also gone for a Warp Prism? I suppose, for the Warp Prism micro, but this game was all over the place. If he had tried that, I almost guarantee he would have lost, 16 High Templar all before they actually got any Storms. So, unfortunately, this is all coming down to just Spirit, I think, severely messing up. More than Nice actually getting a good shot. And Spirit's even trying to be a Gosu trick master. Oh, but it doesn't actually work. No EMP. The feedbacks came down first. Nicely done by Nice. But again, perhaps too little too late. 50 supply difference. Spirit's army is also, it's multidimensional. It's not just bio, it's not just Marines. So even the Storms probably won't be enough. I mean, look at it. Spirit even takes one of the more awkward engagements up against those Storms, but he just has so much. And the Liberators come forward, the bio army comes forward, and Nice has to tap out. Spirit does end up taking the 3-2 over Nice and advancing to the group stage of Katowice. I believe Nice did get a chance to go through the lower bracket, but spoiler alert, did fall to a couple of the other players down there. So, could have been a much different story. Any one of these games could have gone the other direction. So, I think we could have had this end in a 3-0 for either player, but, every single game would have been insanely close. We were fortunate enough to get to the Game 5 match and kind of just prove, I guess, on paper, right, if you just take a glance, that this was a really good series. But it was also perhaps one of the clumsier series, I think, that the players would admit to playing, right? I did get to interview Spirit afterwards, and he was just exhausted. He was exhausted. So late into the day. I think it was about 9 p.m., I want to say. 8 or 9 p.m. And after this series especially, he sat down on the couch and he just took a long breath and was not nearly as engaged in talking to me as he was for our previous interviews, which were earlier on in the day. But he was actually super excited to win. After the interview, he got up and started just chatting really excitedly to the other casters. So it was a really cool moment for him. In a very, very cool series. So I hope you all enjoyed the 2 games coming out from this best of 5. If you do want to watch the entire best of 5, I think game 4 and 3 were also very good. You can find those actually up on the Twitch channel or the YouTube if you Google Spirit vs. Nice Katowice 2022. I think it actually has been labeled correctly. Just throwing it out there. But I'll be coming back and throwing more Katowice games at you from other series in the near future. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys for more StarCraft. Bye.